Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wolfpacker Show. My name's Ethan McDowell, and I am here with Noah Fleischman. We're logging on for another basketball update this week. It is tournament time for the NC State women's basketball team, and that's what we're going to spend most of today talking about. We're going to talk about the ACC tournament, how the draw worked out for them. We're going to talk about ACC awards, which came out yesterday, and kind of give our take on how we're viewing the pack headed into postseason play here. We're also going to talk about the men's basketball team, they have one regular season game remaining, and we'll wrap up with some news and notes from football spring practice, the upcoming ACC wrestling championships, and stuff like that. But before we get into all of that, I just want to mention the fact that we're both writers for the Wolfpacker.com. That is NC State's site on the On3 network, the fastest growing college football and basketball news site out there. And right now, you can join the Wolfpacker.com for only $1 for your first month of premium access. Doesn't get cheaper than that. It's a great deal. Check it out for recruiting scoops, for team analysis, for, if you just want to talk about, the basketball teams on our message board, talk about how you're feeling about the men's basketball team going down the stretch here. It's a good place to vent, good place to get your feelings all out there. So go check it out on the Wolfpacker.com. Again, only $1 to subscribe for 1 month of premium access. All right, like I said before, it's tournament time, Noah. This is inarguably one of the most fun stretches of the college sports recruiting calendar. The ACC tournament for the ACC's women's basketball teams tips off in Greensboro today, about an hour after we have started recording this podcast. And man, it's going to be an exciting tournament. Yeah, you look up and down the bracket here. I've got it pulled up on my computer, and you've got double-digit seeds who have beaten some quality teams this year. I mean, Georgia Tech took NC State to overtime. They're the number 10 seed in this bracket. Virginia upset Virginia, like top 5 Virginia Tech team last week. They're the number 11 seed in the bracket. And then you look, and each of the top 9 seeds right now are all projected to make the NCAA tournament. So Noah, it's March, man. It's exciting. Yeah, how are you feeling? How are you feeling to be entering the postseason here?
I'm excited. I think this is, easily the best, time of the sports calendar year. Every league combined, March Madness, especially with, how exciting the women's tournament is. The men's tournament is always, just as exciting. And sometimes the women's tournament is even better. I'm not gonna lie. This year, you look at it, it's going to be a pretty good tournament. NC State's going to make a lot of noise in it. And we'll talk about that. But ACC tournament is quite the field when you really look at it, with everybody that earned a single bye is locked into the NCAA tournament at this point. Miami, a bubble team, but they should get in. But that's quite impressive for the ACC. I think I made this comment to you a few weeks ago. The women's ACC now is like what the men's ACC was 20 years ago, with the quality of teams, the depth, the tournament bids. It's all there, so it's exciting. But those teams playing today, Ethan, they can make some noise, as you said, and I think that's really exciting too. The ACC, I think, is the best women's college basketball league in the nation. The most, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Balanced in with depth, and because there's some leagues that have some top heavy teams, but the ACC does not have that problem at all. And excited to see what NC State can do this weekend, because they don't play till Friday. They get to sit back and watch 2 days of a tournament before they get out there.
Yeah, so NC State heads into the tournament as the number 2 seed in the conference. They finished just short of Virginia Tech in the league standings. So they're on one side of the bracket with Syracuse as the 3 seed waiting in a semifinal matchup. And they're going to play either number 7 seed Duke, number 10 seed Georgia Tech, or number 15 seed Pittsburgh. So Georgia Tech and Pitt, they play at 3:30 today. That is Wednesday. So the winner of that game will play Duke on Thursday. And then the winner of that game will play the Pack at 5 p.m. on Friday. A nice evening tip-off gives folks a little bit of time to maybe get off work a little early and get to Greensboro for that exciting matchup. And it's not going to be a cakewalk. I mean, Wes Moore talked about it during his press conference this week with the ACC, where he talked about how, anyone could win this league. It's just a matter of who gets hot. Like you look up and down the conference, and it's stacked. It's loaded. You said it's the best basketball conference in the country. It is. it's not close right now. And any of the top 4 teams, I'd say, and along with just making the winning a conference championship, I think any of those teams, you wouldn't be surprised to see them in an Elite 8 this year. So really, really stacked group of teams going to this conference, and NC State is taking a little bit of momentum into this stretch of the year. Noah, you covered their last 2 games. A win in overtime over Syracuse at home, and then a senior day win over Wake Forest. Let's start with the game against the Orange. A 75-71 win over Syracuse in Reynolds Coliseum. Overtime game where the Pack needed some clutch shots and some clutch defense to prevail there. A great game for Sanaya Rivers. She put up 22, 8, and 5. Zoe Brooks's defense down the stretch was huge in that game on Deasia Fair, one of the best scorers in the country, one of the best scorers in NCAA history. I think she's number 5 all time right now. And Zoe Brooks came in there and defended her well, and locked down when she needed to. So Noah, takeaways from that game as you were sitting there courtside.
It had that, March, that tournament feel. 2 top 20 teams. Syracuse came in ranked number 19. The Wolfpack had 12. It was kind of a back and forth game. NC State took the lead with just under 2 minutes to go. Then Syracuse was able to stretch. It was basically a back and forth of like teams taking a lead. Syracuse would take a 4-point lead, and NC State would take a few point lead, and back and forth. And then, at the end, you talk about it. Zoe Brooks was probably the biggest, I think, game changer in this game for NC State. She guarded Deasia Fair, who we talked about, 5th most points in NCAA women's basketball history. Caitlin Clark gets the headlines of being the all-time leader, but Fair just passed, Brittany Griner on that list. So I think it's, really impressive what she's done. She had 26 points. Good game, right? But after the game, Wes Moore, all the players were hyping up Zoe Brooks' defense on her, saying that she was the difference. Why? Well, 9 of 21 from the field for Deasia Fair, including 6 of 13 from 3. So Zoe was able to do what she did best, which was, really deny as much as she could. Fair is going to score. And she had 8 in the first quarter. 11 in the first quarter, 11 of their first 19 points, and was like, okay, she's settling in. Brooks came on her in the second quarter, held her to 2 points. And then from there, just 13 points in the final 25 minutes. I think that's a solid showing, especially from a freshman point guard guarding one of the ACC's best players. I think that showed a lot. And Wes Moore talked about that, just showed the growth in Zoe Brooks and how she, is used to scoring 30 points a night in high school. He's like, what? They may not have even asked her to play defense in high school just so that she could stay out of foul trouble. Now she's not scoring 30 points a night, but she's making winning plays otherwise. She's setting up teammates. She had 5 assists against Syracuse, and she's playing lockdown defense. She had the steal on Fair in overtime that really swung the momentum, and NC State was able to pull away from there.
Yeah, and you mentioned just like you kind of just have to contain scores like Fair, right? Like you're not going to completely stop them, but NC State, I think, has done a really good job when they play elite scores, such as, they play a Paige Beckers at UConn, or they play, Deja Kelly at UNC, a Georgia Amore at Virginia Tech. When they play these elite scoring guards, I think they do a really good job making things difficult. And, those players are going to get what they're going to get. But when you have, a backcourt of Sanaya Rivers and Isaiah James, 2 really, really good defenders, then you add in Zoe Brooks, you add in Madison Hayes, who, she can defend at anyone at a high level pretty much. She has proven this year. So you add all of that together, and it's a pretty good recipe to be able to shut down opposing guards. They put in the defensive effort and intensity they need to do so. So, encouraging to see them do that against Fair. Heck no, they might have to do that again on Saturday, depending on how the first couple games of this ACC tournament works out. They are the number. This game was basically for the number 2 seed in the ACC tournament, and of course, NC State prevailed there. So they wrapped up their regular season with a game against Wake Forest. Really weird game. No, Wake Forest. They're not very good. They're the number 14 seed in the conference tournament. They're 6-25 this season. So you look at it, and they held Wake Forest to 4 points in the first quarter. Absolutely shut down the Demon Deacons. given NC State only scored 8 points. So it was one of those weird quarters where nothing was really going right for either team offensively. And then NC State, they scored more points in each consecutive quarter, finishing the fourth quarter with a 27-point performance, outscoring Wake Forest by 17 and building the lead. By far my favorite stat from the game, Noah, is they scored 57 total points, right? 31 in the third quarter, and if my math's correct, it's 26 for the rest of the game. So, wow. I mean, great defense for three quarters, phenomenal defense, and then just Noah, as someone who was there again covering the game, what happened in the third quarter?
It was one of those things where neither team was really playing much defense. Both teams found easy shots. Wake Forest was able to hit wide open threes. Defenders were losing people and they're getting open and knocking down shots. Total opposite from what we saw for the first 2 quarters in the game. It was kind of one of those things you're sitting there. You're like, okay, at halftime, I'm sitting there like, when is NC State going to sit there and be like, you know what, it's time to actually play? Because Wake Forest, while they're a Division I basketball team, they're, as you said, they're not very good. They're one of the bottom teams in the ACC. They play a gauntlet of a schedule. They had 1, 2 of 3 coming in. Granted, they only have 6 wins. They've won a third of their game. A third of their wins had come in the last 3 games. So they had an opportunity to, really make some noise, and they were confident. You could tell that, even though things weren't going their way early. It's because their defense was, making NC State miss shots. And third quarter rolls around, both teams' offenses wake up, and then fourth quarter rolls around, and NC State defense gets back to what it was doing the first half, and Wolfpack outscored them by 17 to close the game. Could have been a lot worse. You said 31 in the third quarter. Put that in perspective. NC State scored 27 in the fourth quarter, which would have outscored Wake Forest if you take the third quarter out. So their offense woke up.
Yeah.
They did pretty well. Mimi Collins came on late. She had 2 big threes at the end of the game. Sanaya Rivers had a big 3 at the end of the game to really put the game out of reach. And NC State, you look at it, it was not a great shooting game. They still shot 41% from the field, 38.9% from 3, had 4 players in double figures. Not a great day for Madison Hayes, 1 of 10, but she's coming back, and I think that was part of it. And sometimes you just don't have your day. But Sanaya Rivers, another big game, 23 points and 40 minutes of play. So overall, NC State figured it out eventually of what to do and how to do it to beat Wake Forest. Westmore wasn't too pleased with how they beat Wake Forest. It looks like a big win on paper. You break it down, it really wasn't. And he wasn't too pleased with that. He wants to see a full 40 minutes going in the tournament. He didn't see that. So it'll be really intriguing to see what they do when they get to Greensboro. And if they can put together 40 minutes right off the bat after coming off the game, where it took them 30 minutes to really be able to string together a good last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah. So you mentioned Sanaya Rivers, and if there's one thing for Pack fans to be encouraged about, is that she has really woken up offensively over the past couple of games. She's had a couple of really, really impressive performances. She's now scored in double digits. Let's count it up, in each of her 6 games here. So, and she's the 3-point shot's starting to fall for her. And I know if you're doubting her, that has to be terrifying to see, right? Because if she's knocking down threes, she's pretty much unguardable. Sanaya has the ability to get to the rim pretty much whenever she wants. So you see teams almost defending her like how NBA teams defend Giannis. Where they'll back way off because they can't let her get a step. But if she's reliably knocking down threes, she will become one of the most unguardable players in the country. And if you have Sanaya Rivers playing her A game going into tournament play, that could be very exciting.
Yeah, I think that, that shows, the league awards came out. She was first team. She hadn't really put together that, she's playing really well. Not gonna go after her, but she hadn't put together the numbers you would be like, all right, first team, all ACC. They don't pop off the page as much as, some other people's do, but it's just the impact on the game she has offensively and defensively, just being one of the best defenders. If that 3-point shot's falling, Ethan, that's 2, then, 2 consistent guards that can hit the 3. At that point with Desire James being, a lights out shooter from beyond the arc. And then you look at Mimi Collins can stretch the floor too. This team, if it gets hot shooting the 3, they know they can throw it inside and get to the rim either with River Baldwin or the guards can get there pretty easily. So shoot the 3, I think that's the biggest X factor, and going into this weekend.
Yeah, and don't forget Madison Hayes there either. I mean, she's shooting above 40%.
Above 40%.
Yeah, so uh, if Sanaya's hitting her threes, I mean that it kind of actually transforms this offense into I'd say one of the best in the country in terms of their ceiling. Like, well, I don't know if we've really seen the offense play as at its ceiling really for a while now, but it's capable of reaching that point, and they're going to be very tough to defend in March. So that'll be exciting to watch for sure. And now it's just kind of a waiting game, man. We got to wait and see who they get in the in the quarterfinals of the tournament, and we'll see where it all goes from there. Now, we're going to talk about awards. And you ask Westmore, you ask any of the players, they're going to tell you it doesn't matter. They're focused on the ACC tournament. But you know what? It matters to us. It matters to the Wolfpack fans. So we're going to talk about it. NC State landed 2 players on the All-ACC first team, as you mentioned. Isaiah James and Sanaya Rivers were actually like right next to each other in terms of votes. They both got above 800 votes in the poll, which put them on the first team. And then you run through it and you get Zoe Brooks made the all-freshman squad. Not a surprise. And Sanaya Rivers landed on the all-defensive team as well. Again, not a surprise. Then you had just a run of basically runner-ups for 3 major awards. Westmore finished 3rd, actually, in the Coach of the Year voting. Isaiah James finished as a close 2nd for the Most Improved Player award. And then, Zoe Brooks also finished just 21 votes shy of the 6th Person of the Year accolade, which if she had won that, it basically could have been renamed the NC State 6th Player of the Year award. So very close there. I was kind of surprised she didn't win that award. But did you have any takeaways from the ACC's postseason awards? I know there is one big snub that we were both talking about off mic.
Yeah, Madison Hayes. I don't know how you don't find a room for her. When you put 10 people on a team, I don't know how you don't put what she does. She's averaging over 11 points a game, shooting higher than 40% from 3, shooting higher than 40% from the field too. Doesn't make it. One of the best defenders, that can switch 1 through 5 if she needs to. If it's a smaller 5, if it's a taller one, it's kind of hard, but she can do it. And it's just weird that she didn't make it. And I wonder how far off she was. They don't release those votes, but I wonder really how close she was to making on that second team. It's got to be close. And the other thought I had was I think Westmore's entered the territory of he's a good coach, his team should win, because he turned this team around from a down season, a 7th seed a year ago, going on the road to play Utah, at Utah in the NCAA tournament, to a top 10 team all year. 2 big wins against UConn and Colorado. I think, he had a solid case. Kenny Brooks did too. I think they're both in the same boat now. You're a good coach. Your teams are good. You're expected to win. But don't get me wrong. Syracuse's turnaround is really, really good too. So all 3 of them have a good case. So I don't see, that wrong. But it is what it is. Zoe Brooks is going to go from just being snubbed on the 6th Person of the Year to probably a first team All-ACC season next year. So I think she'll take that.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if next year we're kind of looking back on this and laughing. It's like, okay, well, there's Zoe's All-ACC recognition, and she's on all the teams, and she's someone that I wouldn't be surprised to end up on an all-defensive team also at some point in her career. The defense, I think, has been a work in progress as the season has gone on, like Wes Moore's kind of talked about, but in high school, she was a really good defender, especially, producing steals and stuff. And you see the numbers that Hannah Hidalgo puts up at Notre Dame right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see at some point, Zoe Brooks is averaging over 3 steals a game at one point in her college career. So, her accolades are all in front of her. She's got plenty to win. And you mentioned the Coach of the Year race. Yeah, like NC State, they did a really good job surpassing expectations this year. I mean, they were picked like 8th to finish 8th in the conference. But you look at the job that Coach Jack did at Syracuse, and I think it's hard to argue with the 2-year turnaround she's done with that program. So much deserved recognition there as well. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything to do with the women's team this week. So we're going to kind of switch gears, talk about a little bit of men's basketball, which, not as cheerful as a topic, Noah, but, we got to dive into what's next for this program. Before we do that, I want to say a quick thank you to our sponsor, Game Time. Game Time is a ticket buying and selling marketplace, and they make it really easy to get tickets to see your favorite team. If you want to go see a Hurricanes game, if you want to see, go ahead and buy in advance NC State football tickets for next year, or anything of that nature, concert tickets, comedy shows. It's all on the Game Time app. You can find Game Time on any app store or on your web browser at gametime.co. That's not .com, that's .co. And go check it out. I really like it. It's easy to use. You can buy tickets, in the minutes leading up to game time if you want to. It's just super easy to find tickets to your game, and they have great prices as well. Right now, I'm looking at tickets for next week's game Hurricanes game against the Panthers. And shoot, you can get a ticket right now for $27. And my favorite part of the app is when you get on there, I'll hold it up for those watching on YouTube. You can see exactly the view of your seat from where you'd be sitting from. And look, you can turn it side to side, see even more details into where you'll be watching from. And right now it's $27 for that game, and I'll sweeten the deal even a little bit more. If you use code Wolfpack, that's all caps Wolfpack, when you check out, you get $20 off your first purchase. So great deal. Go check it out. It's the Game Time app. Use all caps Wolfpack and go find it on any app store or on your web browser at gametime.co. All right, Noah. This weekend, or last weekend, I guess, you covered the men's basketball senior day. I'm just going to kind of turn over the reins to you here. You've been covering them all season long. You've been covering this home stretch. You've been covering, you've been reading all of the Wolfpack fans, consternation about the coaching situation and everything. So I'm laying out the runway for you here. Give me your soliloquy on the current state of NC State men's basketball.
It's something, because look at it. They started 5-1 in ACC play. A couple good wins in there. You look at it. Yes, they played some bottom teams in there. But it's still 5-1. And you look at it, and they lost North Carolina at home. It wasn't the end of the world because you beat Wake Forest at home, and Wake Forest is a bubble team, so you feel good. But since that stretch, things haven't been as pretty. They've gone 4-9 since that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 4-9 since their 5-1 start, including 3 straight losses. They've lost 6 of their last 8. Things are just not going well for NC State basketball. A lot of the losses at the beginning of this stretch were close. A 3-point loss to Pitt at home. Free throw shooting cost them that one. 4-point loss at Wake Forest, had a chance to tie the game in the final 30 seconds. Missed it. That one, it is what it is. They got a win at Clemson, and people go, okay, cool. They saved their season. Big time win at Clemson. First win there since 2015. They were feeling good about themselves. Everyone was feeling good. I was like, okay, if NC State can come in and come from behind, take down Clemson, feeling good. Played Syracuse and laid an egg, lost a scouting report, and lost. They gave up 55 points. And that is kind of where this season, I think, turned the most. They gave up 55 points in the first half against Syracuse. They lost the game by 4. You give up 50 points, you're all right. You don't want to give up that many, but you know what I mean. And then they beat Boston College and have lost 3 straight. Florida State, at North Carolina, and then home against Duke. It's a time that NC State basketball has to, look at itself. I mean, yes, you look at the ACC standings, they're still somehow right in it. They're going to lose all the tiebreakers. They only have 2 spots where they can go in DC. But I just want to lay it out in perspective of if they flip a couple of those results, they've lost 6 of the last 8. You win 2 of those games, they've got a double bye, top 4 seed.
Wow.
Because right now, the 4th place team is Clemson at 11-8, tied with Pitt at 11-8. NC State sits in a 3-way tie with Florida State and Virginia Tech for 8th, but that will drop. They'll lose both tiebreakers and drop to 10. So they're 9-10. 4th place is 11-8. It's a pretty close log jam there. A lot of teams there. They only need to win a couple games. So they're not too far off. But I think it gets to the point to where it might feel like a missed opportunity based on what they did a year ago, going to the NCAA tournament. They did well in the portal this year. It's just things haven't gone their way. They're 9-10, going to Pitt. And I think this is a big, big game for them, both for the tournament and for the future of this program. I mean, you win the game, they need some help. They need a loss from Virginia Tech, but then they get a single bye and play on Wednesday. They lose. They're locked in to Tuesday against Louisville, the last place team in the league. It also could signal, I mean, people are getting loud about a coaching change. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I don't think there's a mind made up yet. I think that at Pitt is a big game in that situation. They need to probably end this losing streak. DC becomes a big, big factor too if they can win some games there. But overall, NC State started off really well in ACC play. They've fallen off 4-9 in the last 13 games. I don't think it cuts it. NC State fans have high expectations for all of their programs, and basketball just hasn't met it this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned the home stretch of the season. They lost to UNC by 9 on the road. Had an 8-point lead at halftime, right?
And then 8-point lead at halftime. We haven't even talked about this game on the podcast. 8-point lead at halftime, Ethan. They grew up to 10, first bucket of the second half.
Yeah.
Then missed 15 straight shots and lost the game that way. So.
Yeah, I mean, they just haven't really been able to put it together down the home stretch of the year. They have one more shot at a quad 1 win against Pittsburgh, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, at this point, Kevin Keats talked about it on his radio show last night. They really, Jeff Gravely, I think, said it. They don't have to worry about quads anymore, which is a plus because they're not on the bubble. The only way they're getting to March is winning the ACC tournament, which they may have to win a lot of games on a lot of days if they play Tuesday. But don't have to worry about it. It's just, a weird way to end the season. But yeah, big, big game coming up at Pitt. We'll see what they do. We'll have full coverage, we won't be at Pitt, but we'll be in DC. We'll cover the end of the season stuff too, if anything happens there. If portal, if coaching changes happen, whatever it is, we'll have full coverage and then we'll be ready. But I don't think, NC State fans should give up on this program as a whole. It's a historic program. It's got 2 national championships. Not a lot of teams have 2 national championships in men's basketball, especially now in the parity of the sport. But I think we'll see some change. I don't think it might not be a coaching change in the offseason, but we'll see portal. We'll see things. We'll see a change in something to make a different outcome because last year's style of play this year isn't working as much, and it's because they haven't had 3 guards click at the same time in the same game consistently, which is hurt.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up pretty well, man. Change will happen in the offseason. I think these next few games could dictate the degree to which we do see change. So we'll see how that all works out. I'd caution against anyone who thinks a coaching change is some certainty. I don't think that's the case. So we'll see how it all works out here. And big one on against Pittsburgh on Saturday here. So we'll see how that goes for the Pack. All right. Well, to wrap up our show, we're just going to kind of bounce around Wolfpack Athletics. We have a few news and notes around the sport here. First, I wanted to mention that yesterday was RPM Day on On3. That means all of the recruiting analysts, that includes me, across the network made a few football recruiting predictions. I made a prediction for an offensive lineman, a running back, and a receiver. That's all I'm giving you. If you want to see the rest of that, you have to pay the $1 on the wolfpacker.com and go check it out. But NC State's building some recruiting momentum. They hosted a group of prospects yesterday. They're going to host a lot of prospects over Thursday and Friday as well. So go check it out. We've got visitors list. We have visit reactions all posted on the website there. Noah, who's your first shout out? Who do you want to mention? Just anything to do with Wolfpack Athletics to close out the show.
Yeah, NC State softball still doing their thing. They did stretch their win streak to 13. They won the opening game at Clemson, ranked top 10 team. First time winning on the road at Clemson. It's a new program, but the Tigers are good. Top 10 team. State lost the series. They lost the back 2 games of the series, but big win, big progress, for NC State. So I think softball, what they're doing, they're still in the up and up. and they've got a home series this weekend. So it'd be if people go out to the field, right across the street behind Reynolds Coliseum and next to the soccer field. I think it's a good quality softball out there.
Definitely. It's been fun to watch that team already turn around their program so quickly. Just adding another exciting team to a pretty loaded Wolfpack athletic department. And, I just wanted to mention also there will be no midweek baseball game this week. There's a flu outbreak kind of going through, some folks under the weather around NC State baseball. So they're not going to play this week. It was kind of a weird situation where it was originally canceled for inclement weather on Winthrop's side. So, but now, that all got cleared up and we got our answer there. So no midweek game. And Noah, who are they playing this weekend?
The Eagles of Boston College come to town to Raleigh for a 3-game set. Open up ACC play pretty early, but it's going to be interesting and see how many guys NC State trots out there. Hopefully their full roster is back and good to go. Used this week to recover. They were already without freshman catcher Alex Sosa, who was recovering from mono. So his team's just getting sick, and hopefully a week off kind of helped turn this thing around because ACC series, they got to get some wins in this to get ready for the end of the year. I know it's the first weekend, but every ACC win will be important, going to Charlotte for the tournament at the end of the year.
Absolutely. And speaking of ACC tournaments, the ACC Wrestling Championships are this weekend. So, get ready for that. Our wrestling expert, Brian Reinhardt, and Noah will both be on site for that tournament. I'll be in Greensboro, hopefully, on Sunday. We'll see how that all turns out. But so it's going to be a busy weekend. Women's basketball ACC tournament, ACC Wrestling Championships, baseball, men's basketball, all sorts of stuff going on. And it will all be covered all on the wolfpacker.com. So go check it out. Go please read some of mine and Noah and Brian and Tim Peeler's writing all on the site. It's going to be an exciting few days. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Really appreciate you tuning in. And we'll be back next week unless something, if NC State goes on a run and wins a ACC Women's Basketball Championship, we might have to record an emergency pod. But if not, we will be back same time next week to break down everything that did happen that we've previewed today. All right. Have a good one, everyone.